We need more chairs, or we got enough?
There's a couple here.
Okay. On behalf of Mayor Adams and the Board of Commissioners and the town clerk, Mary Palmer, and staff, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Hurricane and Flood Awareness Town Meeting. We have an excellent panel arranged here this evening. They've all been vetted, and the credentials are exceptional. In emergency management, I'm sorry, Lisa Forster and Enoch Urizen, Chief Hughes, Chief Burford, Brad Dykens, PIO officer, and the Chief Meteorologist for Bay News 9, Mike Clay. In emergency management, I'm sure that if you've been here in the past, there's a lot of redundancy. We keep telling you lots of times the same things. And the reason for that is, of course, is that we hope that eventually it sticks and you don't have to maybe come or go to so many of these things or read about them or take the brochures and memorize them or sleep with them under your pillow or whatever. Because it is, and it has to be redundancy so that we do remember and retain the things. Because we go, the worst enemy of emergency management is our complacency of the people. Because if you've been around here for a decade or so and haven't had a bad, severe storm, then you're just convinced you're not going to have one, and that's not true. We have had a lot of people that we've dealt with in the past that it's not if, it's when. So we've just escaped the bullet so far, and we hope that we continue to do so. The hurricane season is flood season. And lots of times people think, well, flooding is serious business, and it's very damaging business. And also the other thing is that storm surge is often the greatest threat to life and property. And Mary Beth, can you tell them the best thing to do?
I've been told to run from the water and hide from the wind.
Correct. Run from the water and hide from the wind. There's a lot more people that lose their lives every year in severe storms from water and drowning than from wind. And that's an absolute fact, and historical, and will probably continue to be. For all of you, I see some very familiar faces here. I see some new faces and then some old faces. I don't mean that literally. All of you that went home after our last meeting and put together a good plan to take care of yourself and make sure that you had a safe evacuation plan all prepared and ready to go for you and your family, then I commend you for that. You might want to pull it out again and tweak it, fine-tune it, and maybe finish up what you didn't finish up last season. And the same thing with your mitigating your property and trying to come up with projects that might help improve your property to make it less vulnerable to a severe weather storm. A typical hurricane season has about 12 hurricanes. 12 storms, 6 will be hurricanes, 3 may be major hurricanes. But this is a typical one, and I'm sure that Mr. Clay will have some things to say about those. But there's a lot of people that give different predictions on them, different numbers. But you can also remember this, that it only takes one severe storm, whether it be a tropical storm or a hurricane, come ashore right out here, and it will have a serious impact on your quality of life. And that's an absolute fact, it will. How long will that take and be you have a change in your quality of your life? Could be for a very long period of time. We hope that not at all. We've chosen to live in a special flood hazard area. We live in a floodplain, and we picked it to live here. So because you picked it, you've got to understand the risk. And there's high risk living in this floodplain and living under this high hazard area. Because you're looking right down the gun barrel here, and we hope that it never happens, but you need to be prepared if it does. We have, to help you with your planning that you're going to do for yourself and for your family, as well as some for your property, we have many brochures that are put out by national and state agencies, and they help you with those planning for those things, and also projects that you can do. And there's a lot of them on the table outside here in the hallway that you're welcome to take with you and look over when you leave here. And they're here out on that table all the time in the hallway throughout the hurricane season. So they'll be available to you. You don't need to just take them with you tonight. You can if you like. And they give you there's all kinds of things out there. A lot of good things, a lot of good lists to go by, a lot of things to remind you what you can do, what you should do, and that, I'm sure you'll find them very helpful. I mentioned this last year, I'm going to mention it again. The last hurricane that impacted Pinellas County was in 1985, was Lena. And I don't know how many of you were here during Lena. I know some of you in the front row were. We were together. But anyway, Lena was in Labor Day weekend of 1985. And it was offshore, and it went north, and it lost its steering currents about 80 miles north of here, roughly about Cedar Key, I guess. And it sat there for about 3 days, and the surf, first of all, the tides increased about 6 feet. And it increased the tides about 6 feet, and the surf just beat us to death for about 3 days. And it ended up, when it left here, which it never made landfall in Florida, it made landfall in Mississippi. But after we looked at things and the county administrators and all those people put together the bottom line of what happened, the 4 people were killed, 250 structures were destroyed, thousands damaged, and it really was a very serious storm. It had a serious impact on us. It didn't even get close. So you need to pay attention to that. And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't have to come right ashore here. It can be somewhere else around here. So I'm going to have now the experts that I mentioned earlier pick up from here and pass on to you some very, very good material. Lisa.
Hi, everybody. The town has nominated me to help them with their program for public information. We refer to it as the PPI, so if I start throwing acronyms out, just flag me down and I'll stop. And do we have a screen for a presentation?
There'll be screen.
Do I need to do something? Okay, so basically the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, has a program called NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program, which started a long time ago. The town is very proactive in doing meetings like this to make sure you guys are all aware of what's going to happen, what could happen, what you should do if it does happen. NFIP is a program that was put out there so that communities can have access to flood insurance, and it also allows FEMA to provide damage money if something should happen. If you're not in the NFIP and you have floodplains, you're not eligible to receive federal grants for recovery. So towns, cities, communities in general that go above and beyond these minimum criteria are able to get a discount on flood insurance. And that's what the community rating system is, which is what the PPI falls under. Okay. Technical difficulties. All right, let's try to go out of full screen. Does it work now? Ah, there we go. So FEMA runs NFIP. NFIP implements the community rating system. And the more things that you do, like this meeting is an example of that, the more points you can accrue, the more points you accrue, the higher your rating is in the program. The higher your rating is, the higher your flood insurance discount is. And there are two different discounts, one for in the special flood hazard area and one for in the shaded X zone. This whole town is special flood hazard area, so you need not worry about the shaded X zone. So these are how the discounts work. This is really small. So we are class 7, which is a 15% discount. So if you guys look at your flood insurance bill, you should have a 15% discount on there. And if you don't, call your insurance agent. So how it works is there are different activities that communities can do. One of them is public information, and that's what I'm going to focus on tonight. Another is warning and response, which these people are going to talk about. Mapping and regulations, and flood damage reduction activities. This is elevating your house and things like that. Regulations is the freeboard requirement, things like that. So the more things you do, the more comprehensive your program is, the higher the discount's going to be, and the more money you can put back in your house and not spend it on flood insurance. So we started a program for public information, which is one itty-bitty little piece of this community rating system program. It is one small, tiny piece. And basically, we put a committee together, we looked at a bunch of data, figured out what kind of information does the town need, came up with messages, which Vice Mayor talked about. You know, we keep saying over and over the same thing, turn around, don't drown. You've heard all these messages. So we came up with a list of messages, came up with some projects to relay those messages out, and then came up with some other things too. So the first step was the PPI committee. Vice Mayor Holmes is on the committee, Chris Henderson is on the committee, Koretsky in the back is on the committee, Steve Andrews, your building person, is on the committee, and a few other people, including myself. So the next step, the needs. So we took a look at a bunch of maps, and if you go to the Pinellas County website, you'll be able to just type in Reddington Shores or your address and pull it up, and it shows you what your flood zone is. So the entire town is special flood hazard area, meaning if you have a federally backed mortgage, you're required to have flood insurance. You have to have it with that mortgage. If you don't have to have a mortgage, you own your house outright, I would still recommend you get flood insurance. Okay, then they also have another map service which shows the storm surge and the evacuation routes. It's actually pretty cool. On the bottom you can click evacuation zone A, B, C, D, E, and if it goes up to E, you see the town inundated with over 9 feet of storm surge water. And the entire town is in evacuation zone A. And then we looked at when the structures were built here. About half of the town was built before regulations. So a lot of houses are on the ground. Then we took a look at some target audiences. What about those houses on the ground? So we call them pre-firm. They're before those firm maps came out, before the regulations made you elevate your houses. So one of our target audiences is the pre-firm people. So if you're in a house on the ground, you're in a target audience, and you will be receiving information from the town that talks about insurance and some other things that you could do. Then we sent a questionnaire out. Raise your hand if you got this questionnaire. Okay, so you all need to sign up for the email list with Mary, because this was sent out by email, and we did discuss that we were only going to hit a certain number of people when we mailed this out, because a lot of people don't have the email list. So please sign up for the email list. Next year we're going to send this out on paper as well. So we took a look at all those things, and we came up with some messages. We came up with messages for just knowing what to do in advance, and we also came up with messages for what to do if something is happening. You're being evacuated, what do you do? So we came up with lists of messages for both of these types of things. And then we came up with projects. How are we going to get these messages across to you? Vice Mayor Holmes was talking about reiterating the message over and over and over again, and that's what this program is about. It's about creating change. We don't want you to just see it and throw it in the garbage. We want you to actually listen and pay attention. So one of the projects we came up with was this brochure. Pinellas County made a brochure very similar to this, so we took the Pinellas County brochure, we looked at the content, the PPI committee, we revamped what was in it, we hired a designer to design it, and they're out on the table. If you don't have them yet, I'll pass it around. But they came out very nice, full of very good information. You can sign up for alerts and whatnot. Pass it around. So that's one project. So we'll be mailing those out to different audiences, and they'll be available at Town Hall. Then we looked at some other outreach initiatives. And the first thing we looked at was the county is implementing a real estate disclosure program. Folks that are coming in and buying houses on the ground and might not know it's in a flood zone, they should be made aware of this before they put money down on the house, and then they find out later from the bank, oh, you need to have flood insurance and it's $8 million. So they really should find out in advance that they're in a flood zone and they're gonna need to buy flood insurance. So the town sent out a letter to all the real estate agents that are registered as real estate agents in town. And the county is having a disclosure training, which I'm doing next Wednesday, actually. So the town said, hey, you guys should go to this training. They're gonna teach you how to use the map information service. There's a brochure, a real estate disclosure brochure that the real estate agents are gonna be handing out to all their clients, just to make them aware of the flood risk. So these are the projects that we came up with. And then there were some other things. So moving forward, we're gonna keep making projects and implementing them. And there are new requirements with the community rating system from the last time the town got verified. So they're rated a 7 now. This fall, they're gonna be re-verified. So we're working through some of the additional activities that the town can get points for. And there are other activities the town's gonna lose points just because of the changes in the manual. So that's what we're working on. Do you guys have any questions? Yes?
What about the TV channel?
The TV channel
Are
is
you
gonna
doing
have
anything with that as far as
Yes.
communication is concerned, and what about the website?
Both of those are projects on our project list. So there's a PPI document, which is in the final stages. We'll send it out to ISO, they're the auditors, who will review the document, make sure we have everything there, and then once it's done, we'll post it up on the website so you guys can all read the PPI document if you want to. There's a list of projects in there. So the TV scroll, there are gonna be 2 TV scrolls, one for during an emergency when town hall is closed, and then one for just all the time. So you'll have 2 scrolls. The website is also, we've come up with the content for the flood information section on the website, and the town is working towards getting a new website.
You mentioned insurance about homeowners. What about
Yes.
condo owners?
Condo owners are actually a separate target audience because a lot of condo owners don't know they need to buy flood insurance. They think, oh, I'm in a condo, it's never gonna wash away, I don't need flood insurance, or they think it's
Well,
covered.
our insurance agent said if you live on the second, if you live 30 feet or 40 feet from the ground level, you don't need insurance, flood insurance, personal flood insurance. The condo has flood insurance, but above that you don't need.
So maybe you're not federally required to, it depends on each condo association's insurance policy too. So it's gonna depend on that, but if you get hit and all the piers underneath get wiped out and the whole building comes down,
That's a
you're
problem.
gonna be out of luck. That would be flood, so your homeowner insurance is gonna cover that. So it's important, so we have an insurance person, Kim Har, who deals in flood insurance, she's local in the town, and she's on the PPI committee, so she's really our person right now that we're working with to get the flood insurance.
And it depends on the structure of the building as well.
The structure, the year that it was built, what kind of flood insurance they have on the entire structure, but generally speaking, a condo association just has the common area flood insurance coverage. You good? I'm gonna pull yours up now, Brad. So I think Brad's up next.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome. I'm not gonna put it on full screen because it locked up when I had it on full screen.
Enoch?
Oh, yeah.
Was that yours?
Good evening. My name is Enoch Urizen with Pinellas County Emergency Management, and I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, so I'm going to be right on the microphone, and I want to apologize to whoever's going to have to sanitize this afterwards. Let me first commend the town of Reddington, the fire department, Seminole, and the Shores. You have great partners, great community agencies, cities, fire departments, police departments that are actively involved in helping you prepare and our community prepare for emergencies. In emergency management, we have the county-wide view, but it all starts at the local level. And I want to say, all these folks here, from the fire department, police department, to your town, I can't tell you, Vice Mayor Holmes has our phone number on speed dial. So we have a very great working relationship, and that's the important key thing in all this. We're all going to be saying the same thing today, so I'm going to steal a little bit of Brad's thunder, but not too much. So let me start by asking, because there's a wonderful newspaper out there, a flyer, that talks about the app to know where you live and you have to evacuate. I'm just going to keep it really simple. Who lives here? Let's raise your hands. Who lives here? All right. For those at home, who lives here? All right. Guess what? You live in an A evacuation. You gotta go. All right. Let's keep it really, really simple. Unless it's a tropical event that they don't expect storm surge, then for the most part, you will be asked to leave a good portion of the time. So just realize that. That's a reality. The next question I have for you all is, who's been on a cruise ship recently? Who's been on a cruise? Anyone been on a cruise? Go, a couple. Have you done the life safety tour? When they give you the little vest and everything, yes. Who's seen the life raft? Yes. How big is the life raft? It's small? I don't have a voice, but you could talk.
It's very small.
It's very small. Is there a Lido deck?
There is a big buffet.
A big buffet?
Yes, a big buffet, so.
On the
on the
lifeboat?
cruise ship, so the very small raft doesn't fit everybody who's been to the big buffet.
Oh, okay. So the buffet is not on the lifeboat. No buffet. There's no Lido deck. Okay, all right. Let's also do a little interaction here. Let's have everybody stand up. Let's all stand up. Let's have all of you stand up. I want you guys. No stretching. No. This is not yoga here. I want you to get close together. Come, this way. Come this inward. Like if you have people, get a little closer. That's all right. I know the gentleman can't stand. Why don't you walk around him? Just get in front. Just walk right there. Let's bunch up. Come on. That's good. There's no personal space here. Let's bunch up. Great. This is what it's like to be in a shelter. All right? You can sit down again. You can sit down. All right. Oh, you like that? Okay, all right. Let me see, who has to leave? Who raised their hand? Who has to leave? Where are you going to go?
I'm going to end up having to go to work. I work for the VA, so I'll have
The VA. Your family?
she actually
Everybody
works there, too.
goes.
To the VA. Okay, that's a great employee. I can't bring my family to my job. Okay, where are you going to go? Virginia.
Bad plan.
All right, so you got to leave early. All right. Where are you all going to go? Dunedin. Okay. Now is the time to figure out where you're going to go. Yes, we do have shelters. And if you have no place to go, you can come to our shelters, all right? That without a doubt. But, and for most storms, we hope to have enough space. When it gets to the really, really bad storms, remember, we're a peninsula that's in a peninsula, all right? It's going to get a little tight, all right? 15 square feet is how much space you have. So if you bring your king-size air mattress and you're one person, you're sharing it with your friends that you just met. So have a plan. Where are you going to go, all right? If you have special medical needs, there's a process for that. Brad's probably going to talk about that. I won't talk too much about it, but register ahead of time. Who's got pets? Children. Yes, who's got pets? I've got children, and I got pets. Where are they going to go? All right, only certain shelters, if you go to the shelters, can accommodate pets. Have a plan. Realize that for some storms, we may have a lot of warning. We may know, hey, 5 days out, 3 days out, it's kind of coming, or maybe it's coming, all right?
You're a dreamer.
I'm a dreamer. Well, no, I say for some. Mike's going to talk. Mike's going to talk about how the Gulf is warming and now there's a greater chance. Just one. I lived in Miami. I grew up in Miami. there was a little storm called Andrew. I don't know if you heard of it. It was late in the season. It was an El Nino year. It was August. Just one storm, just one. So, and we're not in El Nino. He'll talk to you about that. So, what are you going to do in terms of your pets? What are you going to do in terms of for your family? Where are you going to go for your loved ones? What are you going to do yourself? Heard about insurance, okay? What other things, what other important documents? Where do you want to go? When the British were burning the White House in 1812, somebody grabbed a picture of Washington or something, right? What are you grabbing? What's that important thing that you need to take with you, okay? So think about those items. Personal preparedness. There's a wealth of information that's on paper, that's online, pinellescounty.org/emergency. There's lots of info. A lot of it takes a little bit of planning. You don't have to rush out and buy the most expensive kit, the most expensive. There's things you can do to have your own disaster supply at home. Love to see that CERT is here involved. Being involved in the local community, being prepared is important. It's not just a Boy Scout thing. So I can't stress enough that the power is in you. Ultimately, it's going to be your responsibility. If you think FEMA's going to come or anyone's going to come magically to save anybody right away, it could take days before we can get to it. And it's not that we don't love you. We do, because you're taxpayers. We want you to come back. But the reality is, it's going to be a very large effort. And don't take for granted the small storms. Don't take for granted even for the storms that doesn't appear that's coming this way. What was it? Was it 2 years ago? Was it Bonnie or Debbie? Debbie. A flood event, all right? A flood event. And it really didn't even officially land here. It went north. So those are the things you need to be ready. And preparedness is not just for hurricane season. All hazards, okay, all hazards. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, conversations about Zika and this and the other. Being prepared is just important every day of the year. So I don't want to take too much of your time. I'll be around for questions later. I won't shake your hands, not because I don't like you. I don't want to get you sick, all right? But we're all here, and I just want to say you have a great community here that's really involved and really prepared. Thank you very much.
Chief Hughes.
Hard to get out of the chair with all this garbage on. Anyway, I'm Terry Hughes. I'm the Chief of Police, Indian Shores. Been here 25 years. And speaking of okay. That better? Okay. Speaking of hurricanes, I was here for the no-name storm of 93. Was anybody else here? I mean, they kept saying it was going to be a bad thunderstorm, not knowing it's going to be sustained winds of 75 miles an hour. Then we had, there was another storm, Josephine, just a tropical storm. With the no-name storm, we were walking through water as high as our knees down Gulf Boulevard. When Josephine hit, which was a tropical storm, it was waist high. We were pushing cars off of Gulf Boulevard, waist high water, right down the middle of Gulf Boulevard. I think it pretty much took thunder from me what I was going to be talking about. But main thing is to, I'll get you next year. Anyway, the main thing is to be prepared, have a plan. I do. I spent a couple $1,000 to put these louvered stainless steel shutters on my house. And being the police chief, that anytime there's just a hinkling that it may come our way to hit, I have my entire family start putting all these up. My neighbors are going, do you know something that I don't? I said, well, you can afford to take another 12 hours or so. I can't. I got to get back to the towns to protect the town, so I'm always the first one to put them up. Some of the things that people may not have thought about, but think your water, food for your pets, whatever. Bleach bottles. Now is the time to start saving your bleach bottles, your empty bleach bottles. Fill them with water. You may not drink it, but it's really be good for washing any personal items or anything in case you're stuck out. And your cell phones. Be sure to take your chargers. I don't know how many times my phone's run dead because I forgot to take my charger with me. And your computers, make sure you take your chargers with you. Be sure to fill up your tank. Gas pumps are not going to be working. Take money out of the ATMs. Your ATM machines are not going to be working. And you need to also get your homes ready, such as lawn furniture, potted plants, trash cans. Make sure they're all secured or inside the garage or something where they're not going to become a missile. And of course, when the order is given, get out. That is one of the most important things you need to do. I mean, we don't like you, but if the order is given, get out. Matter of fact, I think it was 2 years ago, at this same meeting, I had actually issued out toe tags that I had gotten from the medical examiner's office. And I was passing them out. If you're not going to leave during a evacuation, fill this out and tie it to your toe. I had one guy call up and said, well, I'm not going to go. I said, well, then give me your next of kin's name, phone number, and address. And he says, why? So I can call them, they can claim your body. And when the order, this is very serious, folks, when the order comes in, leave. The best way you can help us and help yourselves. Now, the reentry tags. Everybody's got a misconception about the entry tags. It's the powers that be that make a decision whether you can go back on the island. It's not me. It's high above my pay grade. It's going to make that decision. It's probably going to be the governor, the county commissioners, the sheriff's office. They're the ones that are going to make the decisions whether you get to come back into the town or not. And then again, it may days, it may even be weeks before you come back. It's got to be the CERT teams, the fire department, the EMS, the power companies, your building officials to see if the structure is safe or not. They're all the ones that are going to make a decision whether you come back in or not. You know, law enforcement will be there, but it's not until everything's safe before they'll let you back in. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of nails, glass, pieces of broken metal, bricks. Anything you can think of is going to be in that roadway. And we got to make sure everything is cleared off, or to a degree, and the roads are clear enough, and to allow you into certain structures that are either structurally sound or not. Though the entry tags, they look just like this. It's monitored by the sheriff's office. Years ago, matter of fact, just a few years ago, every municipality had their own idea of these tags. Brington Shores had theirs, Indian Shores had theirs, Madeira Beach had theirs. Well, the sheriff's office stepped forward and got money through a grant to do this for the entire Bear Island. So before, everybody had to have a list of the name, address, everything. It had to all be done physically, old school. Well, with this tag, it can be just scanned, and we can tell exactly who you are. And be sure it's not just this tag. Take some ID with you too. Matter of fact, is Mary here? Okay, I was wondering if she can do them tonight. If anybody doesn't have it, okay, anybody doesn't have a tag, see Mary Beth and she'll get you hooked up with one. All you have to do is show something that proves who you are and you live in town and get one of these tags. It's not to say this is automatically going to let you in. If there's a certain section of town, you come in and they say where you want to go, it hasn't been cleared away yet, they're just not going to let you in. But that's not to say you left the tag and you go to the car and your son took it on a date and he's somewhere else, and you're not able to get it back. Well, just show your ID. This is the simple way. It can be scanned. They can check who you are, where you're going, and can let you in. But most importantly, too, they're going to be checking to make sure everybody leaves. We don't want anybody stuck out here after dark. There's going to be no power, no water. Nothing's going to be out here. It's going to be miserable. It's going to be hot. And maybe you want to take some valuables. Only take what you can carry, because they're not going to let you out here for very long, because once the sun goes down, it's going to be considered a secured area again, and everybody has to get off the island. You'll be told that when you're allowed to come in. Anyway, this is a great program. It's so much faster now that we have the barcode that have to hand check each one. Like I said, see Mary Beth, and she'll fix you up with one. Any question? Anyway? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. If there's an evacuation order,
Uh-huh.
what are the plans to open up more roadways so people can go to Virginia or wherever they're going?
You mean as far as the interstates?
Yes.
Okay, that's FDOT, that and FEMA. The only thing I'm concerned about is Indian Shores and Remington Shores. In fact, this,
Across the bridge, then where do we go? We gotta have roadways, but,
Yeah.
so that was my question.
yeah, hopefully it'll be far enough away to where they'll stay open.
Chief,
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 days. First time it rains, you know, I mean.
that, there's a plan called contraflow, where they take and, let's say you do that I-4, and they turn it into one-way traffic.
Yeah.
It's there, but they've done studies, and it doesn't really save a lot of time. And the amount of time it takes for them to set it up is sometimes unrealistic. So even though they've kind of have those potential plans to kind of do that one-way go, reverse sort of direction, the best bet is to leave and leave early. So it's really listening to when there's a watch and a warning, because you can't really count on those roadways being turned. So just realize that. They've actually done a study where they can take the safety lane that's on the side that no one drives and tell people to drive on that, and that almost is about, it takes them out the same traffic as if they were going to try to convert the other side over. It's like a 30% loss. But so leave early. If you have to if you're going to Virginia, leave early.
Can I give you a suggestion? Don't go to Virginia, or Georgia, or Orlando.
That's a good point.
Find a friend. You could walk to a non-evacuation zone if you had to. Seminole, the Sand Ridge that starts at Bay Pines and goes all the way. Find a friend, because most evacuations are going to be unnecessary in the end because the forecasting isn't that good. So find someone you go to church with, someone you work with, someone else knows, and spend the night on their couch rather than being stuck in what I'm sure is going to be traffic jam. Ask the people in Houston what happened with Hurricane Rita when the entire city tried to leave and go to Dallas on one interstate. More people died in the evacuation from the hurricane, which didn't end up hitting Houston. So you'll be a lot more comfortable than stuck out on I-4 with a car in front of you and a car behind you and people running out of gas.
Tens of miles versus hundreds.
Yes. That's right. And we're lucky because unlike some places like the coast of Mississippi, you can walk if you had to. If I told you a hurricane was coming, we could all get up and we could walk across the bridge over to Seminole if we had to. If we had all day to do that. You know, so it's you don't have to go very far, and the elevation goes up quickly. Remember, you're only evacuating for storm surge, not for wind. Run from the water, hide from the wind.
Yeah. You got it right. And I was talking about preparing, as Mike said, if you're going to stay with a friend, we've got, I bought these, we have a civil defense fund in Indian Shores, and I bought these, what we call go bags. It's going to have your food, your water, change your clothes, and for my guys, their ammunition and extra flashlights, charger for the radios. But I bought enough of these for every one of my officers, all the elected officials, the town staff, the maintenance workers, and I think I have one for each one of the elected officials here at Remington Shores. This is going to be our go bags. This is what you're going to be taking with you if you have to evacuate to when the clear order is. Of course, we're going to let firemen, policemen, and possible elected officials in first. And this is what they're going to have to sustain them until the roadways get opened up. So one of these backpacks are fairly inexpensive. It's a good way to keep all your supplies with you, and fill it. Right now is the time you should start filling it. Oh yeah, I need to put something else in there. So anyway, any other questions? All right, thank you. Have a wonderful night.
So about 3 months ago, my very good friends who just lived down the road on Gulf Boulevard here in Redington Shores moved back to Connecticut, and I was their host family. I'm at 61 feet, just off of Ridge Road in Seminole. So I'm looking for a new family to come and stay in my house. So if you'd like to see me afterwards, that'd be fantastic. There's a couple in the audience. Good evening, everybody. My name is Heather Burford, and I have the privilege of serving as the fire chief for the City of Seminole Fire Rescue Department. Many of you know this, and I don't mean to be redundant, but Your fire protection comes jointly from the City of Seminole and Madeira Beach Fire Rescue. And so the two organizations provide all of your fire and EMS services. We also throw Pinellas Suncoast in there a little bit as well, closest unit response for EMS. So we are the ones that you're going to see certainly on a routine basis, and lately we've been down here quite a bit. We've had some incidents along Gulf Boulevard, but certainly when things start to get into the recovery phase. And so that's pretty important. And we've been doing a lot in the department right now to hone our skills and to enhance our capabilities for responding after the storm. Everything from our buildings being hardened to our equipment being a little bit more structured and designed to be able to get around and be able to mitigate rescues and whatnot that take place. So we're doing that quite a bit. In addition to working with our county dispatch system, an excellent, just a phenomenal countywide dispatch system who will help prioritize where the need is going to be after a disaster, and that's going to be pretty important. And right down to our own emergency operations procedure and how we're going to manage staff, how we're going to keep them fresh so that we can keep things moving and going. One of the things we realized right away was that we weren't going to survive without the CERT team. And I don't want to steal Brad's thunder either, but just a few years ago, no, he's got nothing left, I'm sure, but this is worth repeating. We did launch CERT team training, and CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and that's a FEMA program. It's really designed to help residents understand how to better prepare themselves and their families. You take it one step further and you actually put a team of these folks together, and they are absolutely invaluable. We just recently, in fact, just completed a 7-day drill that's been going on since last Friday, and it was a hurricane event. It was an exercise that the county ran called Hurricane Chemo, Hurricane KIMO, chemo exercise, and we learned how valuable these CERT team members are, from everything from our special needs contact information to going out and actually preparing and timing how long it would take to get to a special needs person, to damage assessment, which is huge, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, right down to logging. It's so important for us to log everything that we do so that we can get reimbursement for your community as well as ours in the whole process. So just an incredible, valuable group of people. We continue to do programs and encourage people to become part of the team. But even if you come for the program and just get some information about how to prepare your own home, you're better off. One of the things we're doing is we're trying to utilize technology a little bit more. And I'm really happy to say that Brad got a call yesterday that we have a donation out of Massachusetts, of all places, but an agency out of Massachusetts who's going to donate $1,500 for us to buy a drone. And you sort of think to yourself, like, why? Why a drone, right? Well, for us to do damage assessment, in the old days, we used to get in the fire trucks and we used to try to work our way down the roads to try to see what the neighborhoods look like. We don't have to do that anymore. Now we rely on social media, we rely on Twitter, we rely on Facebook, we rely on all kinds of different means, including our CERT teams who are out in neighborhoods, our ham radio operators who are out in neighborhoods, who can start to feed us information about what areas have been hit the worst. We cover 25 square miles. We're covering about 110,000 people, so it's a big area. We know you guys are going to get hit, so, but it's so important. And then you throw in something like the drone capability, and we can actually, without putting anybody at risk, or without, believe it or not, tires become our biggest concern if we put fire apparatus out on the roads. With all the debris on the roads from the homes, you end up running over nails, and we end up losing our tires, and our apparatus can't get any place. So a lot of plug kits later, we end up trying to find out what's going on. So the use of a drone, an unmanned drone, as soon as the winds die down, we can actually get out there and start to do damage assessment. Live feeds back to the Emergency Operations Center. So those kinds of things are happening now that I think more and more we're going to see the use of in the future, and just using that technology that's out there. As I said, this drill was absolutely eye-opening. Brad, I think, is probably a little exhausted today because the two of us and a lot of CERT team members have been doing this for the last week. We learned a lot. We know that we've got some deficiencies, but we're also very proud of the things that we are able to do. Communication is the number one thing. I've been down here for 2 years now, and I went through 3 storms within an 18-month period up in the Connecticut area, and that was Sandy, Irene, and what we called Snowtober, when we got about 24 inches of snow in October when the leaves were still on the trees. trees. Every one of those storms, I lost power for anywhere between 7 and 10 days. We learned a lot about people's absolute need, raw need to have information. And whether it's on a whiteboard at a community center or out through email or phone calls, automatic phone calls to people's homes, you have to have information. You're okay being told that your power is not going to come on for 10 days. If I tell you we have no idea when your power is going to come on, that's more frustrating. If I know it's 10 days, I can hold on to that and maybe updates along the way. So the communication piece is going to be really important for us. As I said to people when I first moved down here, there were going to be one of two things was going to drive me back out of this state. And trust me when I say I love being down here. One was hurricane, the other one was cockroaches, or as you call them, palmetto bugs. But the hurricanes, I sort of consider myself having a healthy fear of the hurricanes. And quite honestly, a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to make sure that our communities are safe and my responders are safe. So I lie awake at night thinking about this stuff quite a bit. But I think it's appropriate to have a healthy fear of these kinds of things and to be proactive. And just like everybody's saying tonight, make sure that you're getting out there and doing what you need to do. It is going to happen. It's only a matter of time of when. So any questions for me tonight? Hopefully I haven't taken all of Brad's thunder, but okay. Thank you, folks, very much.
Thank you, Chief. While the Chief was just talking about CERT, it's Community Emergency Response Team. We just graduated our recent class, our basic class of graduates, and out of that recent class, we had 8 people, your neighbors, graduate. We had Reddington Shores residents, area residents here. I'm going to read off a few names, and if you're present, please stand. C.J. Hoyt, Daniel Carwath, Don Carwath, Alana Mundez, Michael Osborne, Catherine Sipnewski, Alona Thompson, and Gerald Smith. Those are our recent graduates. How about a round of applause for them? Very proud of these people. Additionally, we have 2 other people in bright yellow shirts, Hensley Ellswick, and Nick Goldberg. They've already completed our training several months ago, and they're existing members. That's why they're in uniform. The newer ones haven't gotten their shirts yet. Soon they will be having them. Okay. I'm going to get up now and go to my presentation. I'm wearing a lapel mic. Victor, can you hear me? Victor? Yes. Okay, good. Well, as the chief was saying, yes, we've been very busy this week. Hurricane Chemo came through and ripped us up. It was a Category 4. Boy, the skies are blue. But for all of us, the skies were very dark. And we were learning new things and what our abilities are in the community. The CERT members were instrumental, as the chief said, to assist us in that. And it's your neighbors like that that step forward in those times of crisis. You too can be a member of CERT as well if you wish to. You learn about preparedness issues. You learn about what it's great to take care of your friends, your neighbors, and then be there to help others as well. We give you some great training to make yourself confident to do that with. And besides, you get a pretty cool shirt. And a helmet, and a vest, and flashlight. And we give you all the equipment needed to keep it going. In fact, Nick, if you want to just show, you get the little bag there.
Your bag.
Yeah, these are Vanna White model.
Go bag.
Okay, but we're going to be talking about being storm sensible this evening, okay? Preparing for hurricanes. So we'll go ahead and divert to our presentation here now, if you can see that on the screen. You want to have a plan, as you've been hearing and reiterated and hammered and gone forth every time. Victor, is it coming up? He's moving there, okay. We want to make decisions now to avoid our stress later, because if you're waiting for when that storm just comes, it's not good. You've got a lot of things on your plate going on about what needs to be handled. Make your plans now. Sit down. Go home this evening. Start now. Take home one of these great magazines that Nanaki was talking about. The county puts this together. It's basically got everything you need to know to survive the storm. And it's important information. And Mike will talk more about surviving the storm as well, I'm sure, in his presentation. Make sure you share that plan with your family, your friends, even people who don't even live in the area, so they know what you're going to do and what you're going to be up to. Practice that plan, rehearse it, be prepared. You should have a survival kit of things to keep with you. You got to have water. And as the chief was saying, police chief was saying, you want to have water now. Put some stuff together. You may not drink that particular water, but get some drinking water to have. Okay? You need a gallon of water per person per day. You have to have non-perishable foods, things that won't go bad. Medications. Don't forget those medications. Think about stocking up right now. Have a first aid kit. It's important because we're not going to be able to get there to help you if you're sticking around or you get hurt. Help may not get there right away. And you want to be able to know how to stop bleeding and things of this nature. Have your important papers stored away. Take them with you in something waterproof. You know, plastic baggies are really good during a hurricane. Put your cell phone in it, put your money in it, put your important papers in it. You want to have a hard drive, you take all your data off your laptop or off your PC, put it on a hard drive, a little portable thumb drive, and take that with you. Put that in that little bag as well. Have a flashlight handy with batteries. You want to have a radio with earbuds, because if you happen to go to a shelter, maybe the person next to you doesn't like the channel you're listening to. That could be a problem. I've actually broken up disturbances in shelters over goofy little things like that. Okay. Have extra batteries so you can be self-sufficient. And if you have young ones, make sure you have diapers and baby formula. That could be a problem if you don't have it. And by the way, if we're dealing with seniors that need to have some sanitary items, have them with you as well. Have pet needs prearranged if you're going to take your pet with you to where you're going to go, or if you have to take the pet to a shelter, prearrange and make sure we have the food for that pet. And if you're having kids, make sure we have plenty of quiet games for them. Video games with extra batteries and extra plan Bs. A book, how about that for a concept? And some other games. Have cash because, as the police chief said earlier, the ATMs will not work. You need to have a cell phone, a 12-volt charger, because you're not going to find electricity, and you could probably plug into somebody's cigarette lighter in their car and get some energy that way to charge up your phone. When the storm hits, we flood. Hello. We've been hearing that a lot. We need to make sure we get out of here. And as Mary Beth says, we do what?
Oh, run for the water, hide from the wind.
That's right. Run from water, hide from the wind. Okay? And this is what the county looks like. Look at that map. The white areas are islands. And as Mike was talking about the sand ridge, the tip of that northern island is the sand ridge. That's Seminole. Hello. I anticipate, Chief, we're going to have a lot of friends. We are known as the lifeboat of the community. Okay, so people will be coming over to help us, to stay with us. But these are the phases of storm surge. With a Category A evacuation, the barrier islands are inundated. When we get to more of an E type evacuation, we turn into 2 separate islands in Pinellas County. Quite phenomenal. And it's life-threatening. Okay, know your evacuation level now. How do we know that? Well, you can go online at pinellescounty.org/emergency. You can call the phone number listed there of 543-3150, or your trim notice. Okay, that's your truth and millage, your taxes. That information's there as well. Utility bills, and the front of your yellow page book has that information. The Surviving the Storm pamphlet, of course. Hello, pick one of those up. That'd be great. Awesome. Okay, take one of those. Okay. And if you stay in your home, keep your home in good repair. Make sure you keep it up. Garage doors, windows, things of this nature, weather stripping, keep it in good repair. Harden your windows. We were talking around the office about hardening windows. What do you do? What type of windows do we get? Well, kind of like your automobile windows, you want to have ones that have plastic in the middle, safety glass. So if something crashes into them, it won't fail. Or just put shutters up. There's all sorts of different plans, and then, of course, the old reliable plywood screwed to the wall holds it and protects the window as well. Use a licensed contractor when you try to get work done if you're not doing it yourself. Get your yard in shape. Pick up all the loose debris, your yard ornaments and things of this nature. You know, small things can fly through the air, become missiles, and take out your neighbor, or maybe your neighbor's not picking up and they're going to take out you. We want to make sure we're in this together, we clean up. If you gotta leave, find out today where you're gonna go, as we said earlier. Can you stay with friends? Find a host home to go to. That'd be a great idea, a host home. Say you bring the food, bring the chips, whatever. Okay, bring the air mattress because you want to be comfortable. But definitely find a host home now. Don't start thinking about it later. Bring your survival kit with you, as the chief was showing you his kit. Bring those kits with you, materials that you're going to need. Don't count on your friends and family you're going with to have everything. Be sufficient. And keep your car ready. Have it fueled up, because gas pumps will not work. Or maybe they become contaminated with water. So fuel up early. Make sure your tank is full. Special needs evacuation. Anaki was talking about this earlier. And basically what with special needs evacuation means is people who can't get around normally, they're having a hard time, maybe they're wheelchair ridden or something of that nature, or maybe they need special care and attention, like they can't lose power because their oxygen generator will not work. These are prime people that need to have special needs evacuation to be taken to a shelter that can care for them appropriately. Now what does that mean? Well, you need to register in advance. You need to let us know. Because when it comes time and Anaki's crew pulls the trigger and they say it's time to go, then we go out and get those people, put them on buses and take them to the shelter. And our CERT members are key and instrumental with that, to facilitate the crews that go out and do that and get those people taken care of. But we have to register early. The number is 464-3800 to call if you're interested in becoming a special needs evacuation receiver and getting that taken care of. When you have to evacuate, evacuate only when ordered. Don't create a logjam, okay? Don't create a logjam. If they're evacuating level A's, level E's should be staying put, pretty much. All right, we don't want you to go to shelters and jam everything up if you don't have to be going. The chief already spoke about the Barrier Island Emergency Access Permit, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but it's a hang tag program, as you saw. We have the information right here at City Hall and Town Hall. We can get information for you and get you taken care of. Okay? If you'd like to get involved more, as I spoke about, CERT is very important and instrumental. It's a community emergency response team. Community is the #1 word in it. It's about you guys. It's about you all participating and pitching and helping together. Okay, it's a FEMA-sponsored program. FEMA gives us money to help us make this happen. It's totally volunteer. The training's free. The equipment's free. It's all there. And if you're interested, you can contact me at fire headquarters. I'll be glad to help you out with that. Okay. For any more information on any of this stuff we discussed, a whole lot of us up here today, you can go to myseminole.com. We can provide information to you that way. You can call my number in the office, 393-8711, extension 210. You go to pinellescounty.org/emergency and get great information. That's the emergency management phone number there again, 464-3800. And the hurricane guides that are being distributed, Surviving the Storm. Please take one of those when you leave this evening. They're at the back of the room. You have any questions for me? It's been, yes, CJ?
I just want to say that your course was wonderful, and I highly encourage anybody to take it. I learned so much, and I'm sure that.
Thank you very much. And that's what it's all about. It's preparedness. It's getting you guys and everybody in the community ready. You don't have to be part of the team. You could take the course and not even have to be part of the team. We want you to be safe. We want you to be prepared. That information you have now, it's great knowledge nobody's ever going to take away from you, and you can share it with others, and now we have that many more people safe. And that's what it's all about. Great. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions, thoughts, or ideas? I turn the floor over to Mike. Thank you very much. Sure.
I wear one of these every day for about 8 hours. Well, good to see everybody here. Great crowd. And I'm the realist in the room because I'm the guy that's got to do the forecast. So I'm the guy that's, got the pressure when a hurricane situation develops. Meteorologists love to go back, and we'd love to look at what happened when a storm hit and how people reacted. And that's becoming a bigger and bigger deal. I was on the National Weather Service assessment for Hurricane Irene, and we did a great deal of looking back on social media and how people reacted, the ones that did and the ones that didn't, all the way up from Puerto Rico to North Carolina, all the way up to, I actually got to go all the way up to Burlington, Vermont, where they had a lot of flooding from Hurricane Irene. So that was really interesting. So we like to look back and see how people reacted, and past experience has taught us that people that have a plan do a lot better in a hurricane situation than people who haven't thought about it at all. And so just by being here tonight or watching this on TV, you're far ahead of your neighbors, because most of them haven't even thought about it. And we're going through hurricane amnesia because it's been so long, we've had such a drought of storms that nothing has happened for so many years. After 04 and 05, and I was here for that, I've been here, by the way, since 97. I'm a neighbor of yours, I live in Seminole, up on high grounds. Bring groceries. So I've seen all the storms since the late 90s. And after 04 and 05, when we would go to hurricane expos or something like that, they were packed. In the 06 season, I would actually avoid running into people going into work, the people that worked at Bright House, because everyone would stop me because they were so worried about a couple of clouds that got together in the Caribbean that day. Is that going to be the next one? So after 04, 05, and 06, hurricanes were top of everybody's agenda. Now they're somewhere way down here, all right? So we've had a long, long period without any hurricane threats, and we're going through Hurricane Indonesia. So you folks are already ahead of all the people who haven't even thought about it, because at least you're here and at least you're thinking about what you would do, and that's huge. Now, as the generals say, when you have a battle plan, you have to have a plan, but as soon as the first shots are fired in the battle, you change your plan. So I'm here to say that you're going to have a plan, but as soon as the situation develops, you're going to have to change your plan. We're not Miami, and we're not going to have 5 days watching a hurricane come across the Atlantic. We are on the west coast of Florida, and we will get hit someday. But mark my word, when we do get hit, the hurricane is going to be poorly behaved by nature. It's going to have something turning it, like Charlie, which could have paralleled the coast, and a trough. The trough was off Texas, and the trough just nudged Charlie a little bit into Punta Gorda and Charlotte Harbor. Or we could be in a situation like 1950. Have you ever heard of Hurricane Easy? Go home and Google it. Hurricane Easy, 1950. It did 2 loops off our coast. It probably touched northern Pinellas County in the eye wall, and I think it was 45 inches of rain in Yankeetown. It did 2 loops off the coast, came back down as a tropical storm all the way to Lutz, inland, stopped, and then it ejected out towards Jacksonville as a tropical storm. The only way that they knew what it was doing was they just installed something at the University of Florida in Gainesville called a weather radar, and they were able to track it. So we could be in a situation like that in the future. We could have a storm stall, Elena, that kind of thing, kind of stalls. So it's not going to be black and white. You're going to have to change your plan, but it's important that you have a plan. So if we ever do get hit here, I think it's going to be a situation kind of like in 2001 with Tropical Storm Gabrielle, where it's offshore, the forecast is uncertain, and then it starts to come up on us really quickly. Or we think it's going to be a lower situation and it turns out to be a stronger storm, and we don't know until the very last minute. That's why I would rather you have a plan where you evacuate close to home, because we're not always going to be able to give you that long watch warning, 48 hours, you've got 36 hours. Tropical Storm Gabrielle in 2001 was supposed to hit us, it was 4 days after 9/11, and a lot of people weren't paying attention. It was supposed to hit us on Friday in the afternoon, and it hit Friday morning, Manatee, Sarasota County. Caused a lot of rain here and wind. So we went from expecting the tropical storm tomorrow afternoon to we woke up the next morning and it was already on the coast. All right. So have a state of mind that you're going to have to adapt and you're going to have to change perhaps at the last minute. Our worst case scenario is a rapidly intensifying hurricane just before landfall, because we have about 1 million, we have more people in Pinellas than we do in Montana. So we got about 1 million people in Pinellas County, and then you have to evacuate into a county that's got about 1 million people.
You can't get to Tampa on a Friday afternoon on the bridges. What do you think that's going to be like? All right? So I don't want you to do that. All right? So I like the idea of evacuate tens of miles and not hundreds of miles. So the forecast for the upcoming season, after several, and first of all, let me say I hate long-range forecasts. Dr. Gray, rest in peace, who just passed away, brilliant guy, one of the most interesting persons I've ever met. And now Phil Klotzbach has taken over for him at Colorado State. You know, when they started that, it was more for research for like insurance companies, because they realized they could kind of predict if a season was going to be busy. And then somehow, in today's media landscape, it all kind of got swept up in this big wave, and now the seasonal forecast comes out and it's breaking news, all right? It's just silly. It's research. It's weather research. Well, then you're saying, well, why do they even do it? Well, they do it because they're learning so much. They know now tremendous amounts of things that they didn't know 20 years ago, and they would have not known that if they hadn't used the scientific method and tried to make these forecasts. And every year they get better, or if something goes wrong, they learn from that, and hopefully our children's will benefit from that in the future. That's the way science works. So it's great that people like Colorado State and now all these other universities and organizations are jumping on the bandwagon, and we've got a seasonal forecast too. But it doesn't mean anything to you, because all it takes is one storm. So when the seasonal forecast comes out in a few weeks, just kind of go, huh, okay. Because all it takes is one storm. Andrew in a quiet season is a perfect example. Okay? So just for your entertainment and for your reference. Now, you know, meteorologists, we look at this, we're like, oh, okay. We look at a lot of computer data and stuff. We look at a lot of things. So just for your entertainment and reference. So the forecast for the upcoming season, El Nino's over. El Nino normally warmer water in the Pacific off the equator, and El Nino normally causes fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic. Last year in the Caribbean, by the way, where most of our storms come from that affect us, come from the Western Caribbean. They're not going to be these long track Atlantic that come off the Cape Verde. Most of those turn before they ever get to the U.S. The area we have to watch is the Western Caribbean. Water's very warm down there, and that's where most of the storms historically that have hit the west coast of Florida have started. Okay. So last year, historic high levels of wind shear in the Caribbean. It's never been that high. El Nino, probably one of the strongest we've seen since 1950. We had tornadoes in the winter, at night, that kind of thing. That's typical of an El Nino. El Nino is crashing. It's ending now, and the cold water is upwelling, and we're going to go over to a La Nina. If there's a La Nina, the odds are twice as good that a hurricane will hit the United States coast than an El Nino. So we already know that during a La Nina, we would expect a more active Atlantic hurricane season. It can't get much less active than it has been the last 2 years, so it's not hard to say it's going to be more active. So that being said, there are a number of factors that we don't really know. The Pacific is, the water temperatures in the Pacific are not really set up right for an active Atlantic hurricane season. Sure, there's a La Nina, but off the west coast of the U.S., the water temperatures are warmer than normal, and that would cause a lot of things to happen that may not be as active in the Atlantic. Also, the water temperatures in the Atlantic aren't set up exactly right for a very active season. The main development region out in the far Atlantic is cooler. The water's cooler there. And so the water temperatures are kind of set up out there also negative. So you take the positive of the La Nina, which will mean more activity, and you take some of the other factors, which are negative, and the forecast kind of comes out average or normal. So again, that's the forecast for the season, but take that with a grain of salt because anything can happen. Now, in the tropics, we ask that you take it 4 or 5 days at a time. Okay? We can give you a pretty good idea 4 or 5 days out when we see something developing. So have the weather for breakfast, lunch, and dinner during hurricane season, and check in with us often. And, you know, we've had examples in the past. It's Labor Day weekend. Somebody watches the weather. There's nothing going on Friday. All of a sudden, the storm ramps up quickly. Now it's Monday afternoon, Labor Day, and all of a sudden you're under a watch. And people are like, "Wow, I looked a couple days ago, and there was nothing going on." Things can happen that quickly. There was a hurricane that formed off the Texas coast a few years ago that went from a nothing to a tropical storm to a hurricane in 1 day and made landfall. So things can change very quickly. So check in with us often. And we always are on every hour on Bay News 9 with the tropical update at 49 after. If there's nothing going on, we'll tell you there's nothing going on. We don't like to hype things. We don't like to make something out of nothing. So we'll tell you there's nothing going on. Now, we do have a storm. I got to tell you a little bit, I got to talk to you a little bit about this spaghetti plot. I don't like it. As a meteorologist, I think it's cool. But when I go to the doctor and get an MRI, I don't walk in and read it. I let the radiologist and the doctor, and they read it, okay? So it's like giving you your x-rays and say, here, what do you think of this brown spot, you know? Could be a shadow. So everybody's got access to this now. And it causes, I think, some confusion. Because as meteorologists, we know what those models are. We know which ones to throw out, and we know which ones to look at. We know which ones are performing better in this situation. We go through all this. I mean, we go through tons of stuff before we come out with forecasts. But people are just looking at the spaghetti plot and coming out with their own forecast. I guarantee you, if there are 30 members of a spaghetti plot pointing right at Pinellas County, and there are 2 members pointing at Pensacola, someone will go, well, see, 2 think it's not going to hit here. I guarantee you. So what you should take away when you, I cannot not show the spaghetti plot. They'll drive me out of town on a rail. So I have to show it. What you should take away from it, though, when you see it on TV or wherever you might, on the internet, it's all over. Not all those computer models are the same. They're all done by different people, and they're all done with different physics. And so they're not all the same. As meteorologists, we know the ones that we like. On Bay News 9, on our website, we take the ones off that we don't like. So we just pull them off and you don't see them. So that we have control over that, and you know, we can do that. If all of the computer models are right on top of each other, then you need to know that the atmosphere is in a state where the models can model it well. If all the computer models are all over the place, Tropical Storm Debbie, a few years ago, some of the models took it to Texas and other ones took it to Florida. Then you know the state of the atmosphere is chaotic enough that these equations that these models are can't figure it out. So then you need to have your guard up. You need to punt and play defense, all right, because anything can happen. Sometimes the Hurricane Center doesn't have a choice where they put their cone. Tropical Storm Debbie is a good example. The highly reliable European model took it to Texas. The less reliable U.S. models took it to Florida. Guess who won? What did the Hurricane Center have to do? They took it to Louisiana. They had no choice. They even said in their discussion to us, that out of respect for the European model, because it's usually right, took it to Texas. So they made a cone to Louisiana. All of us, that's our job on TV, is to go on TV and go, folks, it's not going to Louisiana. But they're kind of in a pickle. We had this happen last year with Tropical Storm Erica. It was down in the Caribbean. All of the meteorologists knew it was going to die over Cuba. The Hurricane Center was in a pickle. It was either going to go east of Florida and be a hurricane in the Atlantic, or it was going to come right up the west coast of Florida and be a tropical storm if it survived Cuba and come up our way. So what did they do? They took it to Miami as a Category 1. People in Miami freaked out. Oh, we've got a Category 1 hurricane coming. And we're going, it's not going to Miami. They have no choice. Until the models settle down, they have no choice. So they had to put it in the middle, and just because if it went into the Atlantic, it was going to be a stronger storm, they had to make it a Category 1 and bring it right into South Florida. As it turned out, the models settled down. We got a better idea. We waited 24 hours. It went right over Cuba, got ripped apart, and if it would have survived, it would have come up the west coast of Florida. So those are the things that we can kind of communicate with you on TV. It's a little frustrating with today's world with apps and websites and things like that, because you know, sometimes you just need to hear what we have to say on TV, and I think we're very good at being very honest with people about the forecast. So when you see that spaghetti plot, keep that in mind. One more thing I got to tell you about is the intensity forecast. We have, meteorology has very little skill in the intensity forecast. Don't bet your life on a 4-day cone saying it's going to be a Category 1 and I'm not going to leave, okay? When Hurricane Ike was headed for the Texas coast in 2008, there was a guy on TV living in Galveston, living in Galveston, and he goes, well, it's only forecast to be a Category 2. If it's Category 3, I'm going to leave. But if it's Category 2, I'm going to stay. and it's like 48 hours out, and I'm screaming at my TV, how good do you think we are? Okay, the intensity forecast needs a lot of research. The track forecast has gotten better, much better since I've been in the business. The intensity forecast, don't bet your life on that. 24 hours out, the average error is one category for a hurricane hitting the U.S. 24 hours out, we say it's going to be a 3, it could be a 4, it's a big difference, or it could be a 2. That's the average. 48 hours out, it's 2 categories, is the average error in the intensity forecast. Again, I wish we didn't have to give it. I have to. My competitors do it, I have to do it. It's going to be category such and such in 4 days. You know what they're going to do now? They're going to go to a 7-day cone because the Navy wants it. We're going to be in the cone all year. Yeah, the error is going to be huge. The other thing you need to realize about that cone is it's not a forecast cone. We call it the cone of overtime. It's not a forecast. It's an average error cone. Now think about that. It makes a big difference. Now they're thinking about ways to make it the cone change and make it a true forecast cone based on the uncertainty of the forecast. And we try to talk about that on TV. But when you see the cone and you see it in the websites and you see it flashed up on other TV stations and stuff, remember, it's an average error cone. All the forecaster does at the Hurricane Center is he sits down and he goes, and I've been through the forecast exercise, and a lot of emergency managers have too. It takes about 2.5 hours to do a forecast. You sit down and you go, it's here now, and in 24 hours I'm going to put a point here, and in 36 hours I'm going to put a point here, and in 48 hours I'm going to put a point here. And then the computer draws a line between those points, and then it knows the average error for the last 5 years, and then it makes the line bigger as it goes on out. And that's all that happens. Okay? That got people in trouble in Charlie in 2004, because they didn't realize that as it got closer to 0 hour, the cone gets smaller. So the cone was small in the beginning, but the uncertainty in the forecast was huge. It could have come anywhere up the coast from Tampa down to Fort Myers. So you have to realize that the cone that you're looking at is not based on the forecast of the forecaster going, this is where I think it's going to go. If he doesn't know where it's going to go in the next 24 hours, the cone's going to be the same size because he's still having to make the forecast. Sometimes they'll just even make the points closer so the cone will actually get larger. But, you know, you have to realize it's a big difference, okay? All right, so before I go, sales pitch time. We have for your phone, we have a great app, the Bay News 9 Plus app. We have 700,000 people using it. It's the #1 app for any TV station in a nation. And we really like it. There you go. It's got live radar. Sometimes you use an app, and we have a term in the weather business, very technical, it's called crap apps. Sometimes you use an app and the radar is delayed. You remember that Sugarland concert in Indiana where the winds came through and it collapsed the stage? Horrible, horrible. They went back later and they talked to people and they said, the line of storms was moving at 70 miles an hour. And they talked to people and they said, well, you know, and they go, well, we looked on our app and it looked like it wasn't here yet. Well, the app may have had a radar that's updated every 15 minutes. Line of storms are moving at 70 miles an hour, you can cover some ground. So the people were using these apps of unknown origin, or who knows, you know, what some of these companies, where they get their information, and the apps were leading them astray. So anyway, on our app we have our radar, which is over here in Pinellas Park, updating every 60 seconds on the app. We also have something on there called Safety Net. And if you get the app, I would highly recommend you go in and you turn that on. You can enter 3 locations that are your permanent locations. My daughter was going to school in Alabama, I had that in there. Or you can have it follow you. A lot of people go, whoa, I don't want it follow, I don't want Mike Clay knowing where I am. Well, I'm saying, well, what are you doing that I'm not supposed to know? It's a great tool because it doesn't know who you are, but it does follow you, and it only pings your phone every 15 minutes. We didn't want it, It's not like, you know, and I've got news for you. If you've got a smartphone and you have any apps, it's following you, okay? So it doesn't matter. But if you're driving down the road and it's gathering traffic data from you, it's pinging your phone pretty often. The weather app, we figured, we didn't want it to run down your battery, so we figured every 15 minutes was a good idea. That would be good enough for weather, that it would know your location. So what Safety Net does is if it knows your location, or you enter your location manually, if there is an alert, it sends it to you, but it only sends it to you if there's a reason to send it to you. So if you're in northern Polk County and there's a severe thunderstorm in southern Polk County, you're not going to get pinged by this. Also, we can also type in emergency messages to any area. We can define it and we can send you an emergency message if we need to. That's something that we don't do very often. Only we don't want to bother you, but if you ever see us do it, we mean business. And it works anywhere in the United States. So you can get our radar here, but it has national radar on there too. And if you're in Michigan and there's a severe thunderstorm coming in, you'll get a thing on the app too. So we can go in and we see people are using it all over the world, really. But also another thing with apps is you don't know where the forecast is coming from. It could be coming from one computer model. On our app, it's coming from us. So now if you go to Seattle, it's not coming from us. But if you're here, the forecast is coming from us. So that's VayNews 9 Plus app on it. All right, so let's hope it's another quiet season, but if it isn't, we'll be here for you. And do we want to take questions? Anybody have any questions for the meteorologist? Yes.
Is it possible to change the Claystron 9 music?
When we moved into our new building in 2005, they lost the file. And they grabbed some other music, and I swear I think there was going to be a riot. So they went back to the old building and they went on the computers which had been turned off and they found the file and they put it on a thumb drive and they took it to the new building and they plugged it in. They're like, get these people off our nerves. So I've been in TV for 30 years and I know enough to know that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People got upset. Anything else? Claystron 9 music, boy, that's the only question.
Mike Clay, VayNews 9 brought some of the goodies with them, and I don't know if everybody got them or not. There's a holder for your iPhone, and there's also a light.
She didn't give one, they're over here in the
They're over there.
And give them those hurricane guides too.
Okay. And
Everybody get one of those.
Here on the side. Thank you, Mike.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and I'd like to thank the panel for doing an outstanding job. Anybody that has any questions of them, maybe they can talk to them a little bit and mingle with them while we all move back to the community room and have some pizza. Thank you.